So one of the problems on the Heart of Darkness and Macbeth papers is that some of the papers are simply too factual. They summarize the story, retelling events rather than analyzing them or arguing a position. This is how I know that. The thesis is non-existent, or perhaps it's overly obvious. Here's an example of an over-obvious thesis. Both books show how abuse of power can lead toward evil. And no one's going to argue against that. No one's going to go away from it interested or learning anything. So that is a poor thesis. Sometimes there might be a good thesis, but the topic sentences are bad. They could be facts from the story, or they're shallow observations. Here's an example. Macbeth understands that he is in the wrong, but he kills the king anyway. In a factual paper, quotes only are used to show the progression of the narrative. They're not used as evidence. They're not developed as evidence. They're not insightful. And concluding sentences aren't necessary, or perhaps they simply say the event that just happened. When those hallmarks are in place, I know the story is factual, rather than argumentative or analytical. The bottom line, I'm not interested. It's boring. It doesn't provoke. It doesn't intrigue. It doesn't push, pull, question, highlight anything. It simply tells the story. And I already know the story. I've read both books. So, the question is what to do. Well, you need a vibrant thesis. A thesis is the backbone of your paper. If you don't have a good thesis, it's going to be hard to go anywhere good. So you need to get an argument, something to say. Now once again, you can analyze. Why did the authors do what they did and to what effect? Or you can argue. You can make a case that there are universal truths in these stories, and these lessons need to be learned. Either method will work, and it will get you away from retelling the story. Now, when I want to do that, I look through different lenses. I look through compare and contrast. Now, I need to tell you something. Sometimes this can lead to summary, but if it's done right, it can be insightful, a good argument. Here is an example of a compare and contrast thesis. The evil in Macbeth is shown through clear character actions, while nature remains obscure. Conversely, Heart of Darkness has clear depictions of nature, but the characters remain obscure. Those are doing some compare-contrast, and there's a lot of insight. I'm going to learn something from that. And note the word conversely is one of the signal words for compare and contrast. There's also cause and effect. Now, in cause and effect, well, never mind, I'm going on. Here are two examples of cause and effect thesis statements. The characters who hold values other than wealth or power are able to survive with their souls intact. I am arguing a cause, that if there's a character who values something other than wealth or power, they're going to be fine. Conversely, of course, those who value wealth and power are going to be destroyed. Cause and effect. Now, I can see how that might go to narration again, just retelling, so I'd have to be careful to make sure that my topic senses are analytical. Here's another cause and effect thesis statement. Both main characters only become evil because of the situations they are placed in, rather than as a result of overwhelming weakness. The cause is the situation they're placed in. I am arguing for one view of this story over another. That's cause and effect. I could also look through the lens of classification or definition. Now, we did definition earlier in this semester. Classification, though, means to put groups of ideas together to look at things along a spectrum. Here are two thesis statements that use classification or definition to get to their root. The different powers of all the women in both stories lead the men astray. What I'm going to do there is define or classify how women use their power. Note that there's also some cause and effect there, because the women lead the men astray. Evil takes place in many forms in these books, but the worst was a lack of empathy. I am classifying or defining what evil looks like. But I'm saying that the worst one, my argument, was a lack of empathy. Now some might say it was a lack of restraint. So therefore I have an argument. Why don't you take a look at this chart? This chart has compare and contrast as a text structure, cause and effect as a text structure, and classification and definition. The middle column has the idea of power. The column on the right has the idea of women. So let's take a look. If I take power and I do a compare contrast, I might come up with this idea. Shakespeare wanted to show the danger of a tyrant's power, but Conrad wanted to show the danger of societies. I'm comparing the intent of Shakespeare to the intent of Conrad, and also, of course, the meanings of their stories. Compare and contrast. Now, cause and effect on power. Because both men have unchecked power, they are unable to exercise restraint. My argument there is that we must have rules and laws and regulations and consequences, or else, well, I think a few of us might become Macbeths or Kurtzes. That's an argument, a universal truth that I'm arguing for. I can also use classification, definition. These books showed physical, psychological, and moral power. I would look at what power was by the various characters, and sometimes both books might be under one. For instance, psychological power easily has multiple characters under its umbrella. Now let's look at women. So we're looking at the far right. If I'm going to compare and contrast, I might say, in both books, women use subtle ways to gain power and influence over men, showing that even in a sexist society, women can navigate effectively. Note again that I have a point, a focus. I'm looking at women specifically. I'm not retelling the story. How about cause and effect? Neither man would have committed murder if not for the women in their lives. Definitely an argument there. In classification and definition, I'm going to look at the power of women. They have the power to tempt, to coerce, to guilt, and inspire. Essentially, instead of telling a story, I'm putting an umbrella, and I'm putting the facts that belong under that umbrella there. One umbrella then would be tempt. One umbrella is coerce. Another umbrella is guilt. And another umbrella is inspire. I'm not retelling the story. I'm placing the evidence for the story. So I want you to consider using text structures as a springboard to getting a better thesis. And you might also then want to get some sentence stems. If I'm going to do my paper on evil, well, evil is seen when? Or maybe I'm going to do it on power. Power can be defined as. What about if I say when people have power, when people don't? That's a compare contrast. Well, it's also kind of a cause and effect. Do you see how the different text structures can lead you to different questions? Once I have my idea, I'm going to get a thesis. I'm going to make sure it's not factual. I'm going to make sure it has depth and controversy. And then, this is key. I must absolutely make sure I have good topic senses. They should have points. They should have insights. They should be arguments. The bottom line, provoke me, intrigue me, push against what I believe, or pull towards something I hold valuable. Question the books, the authors, the intents, highlight something amazing, but get somewhere good.